But congratulations to Charlamagne. He's now getting, well, NBA franchise player money. This is for 5 years, $200 million. It breaks down to $40 million a year. And if you want to know what that means, it's about, what is it? It's about $3 or $4 million. Yeah, it's like 3.5, so $3.5 million a month. Now, if you really want to break it down even further, $3.5 million a month, which is pretty much almost $1 million a week, which means if he's on the Breakfast Club for 5 days, literally 200 per occasion. So every time he's that sounds ridiculous, right? You are the one. Charlamagne Forbes. So now Charlamagne, he, supposedly re-upped, and he kept it quiet, and everybody around him kept it quiet, but he re-upped with iHeartMedia in August, and he re-upped for an astonishing amount of money, $200 million, okay? I don't think anybody else, and I want to give him his props, there's nobody else that I know is touching the hundreds of millions. A lot of people, including me, Joe Buttons, and the Gillies and Wallows. Well, I did hear there was a rumor that Gilly and Wallow had gotten 100 mil, but we couldn't really ever confirm that. And I think Forbes would have pulled up for the 100 mil. So I think they got tens of million. Just to be fair, I think everybody who has gotten some of these deals, we've all been in the tens of millions. The 8-figure ballpark. But congratulations to Charlamagne. He's now getting, NBA franchise player money. This is for 5 years, $200 million. It breaks down to $40 million a year. And if you want to know what that means, it's about, what is it? It's about $3 or $4 million. Yeah, it's like 3.5, so $3.5 million a month. Now, if you really want to break it down even further, $3.5 million a month, which is pretty much almost $1 million a week, which means if he's on the Breakfast Club for 5 days, literally 200 per occasion. So every time he's that sounds ridiculous, right? But that is dope, right? Let me bring up the calculator. Pocket Watcher Act is always on the building. And by the way, I want everybody to know I'm extremely proud of Charlamagne. Jealousy doesn't run in my body, okay, ever. And someone who I've looked up to and someone who I've rooted to be a leader, and I respect him. So let me pull up the calculator. Let's figure out how much he's getting. It's an extension for 5 years, $200 million. Where's the handy dandy calculator? Here we go. Bang. So if we're talking about 200 million, here we go with 200 million. Let's divide it by 5 years. It's 40 million a year. It's 12 months in a year. Divided by 12. It's 3.3 million a month. Divided by 4 weeks in most months. Divided by 4. Okay. Yeah. Almost $1 million. Well, it's $800,000 a week. $833,000 a week. And if they don't do weekends, but let's just extrapolate. Let's go 5 days divided by 5. So per episode of The Breakfast Club, he would be getting $166,000. Now, this is not exactly how it works now, just to let you know. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of incentives and performance bonuses, and also probably additional money that comes in from, goals that are met maybe on advertising or views perspective when you bring in the Black Effect Network. And, again, and I hope everybody know I'm being very fair and honest. I'm not trying to knock him, or I'm not trying to overgas him. I would imagine $200 million. This probably means that, I know he owns the majority of Black Effect. I think probably 51% compared to 49, which that's what I believe iHeart owns. I would imagine that's probably also paying his dividends as well, right? So saying, hey, listen, we're just going to, based on the deal we're signing with Netflix and other deals we have going on that the Black Effect is going to benefit from, we're just going to give you a performance package in there. As long as you bring this amount of podcasts, keep them doing this amount of episodes, you're going to get this amount. So it's not just the Breakfast Club, right? However, his efforts through being the CEO of Black Effect Network, being the number one personality on the Breakfast Club, probably other speaking engagements and maybe some ambassadorship, and definitely probably some live events for not Live Nation, but iHeart. I would imagine with all of that, and I would imagine this would probably be like a Stephen A. Smith, workhorse situation. They're going to put Charlotte to work, but Charlotte works overly anyway. So that's pretty dope. $166,000 a week, $40 million a year, $200 for 5 years. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I spoke to some, well, actually not some. I spoke to one person who was in the space, especially podcasting, and they said, "Yo, they felt Charlotte could even got more, honestly." And it kind of shows you where the ceiling's at, and it's always good when the leaders start expanding the reach of like what people have to offer to get people on their deals. That's very dope. So congratulations to Charlamagne. I'll read a little bit of this thing. And by the way, again, for the people who thought he was getting fired, like, come on now. I keep telling y'all, Charlamagne is an executive masquerading as a player. Okay? Like, I don't believe you could tell how they quickly like ushered the Hot 97 niggas out the building with that morning show. iHeart, they're not just looking at Charlamagne to be like, yo, my God, we need you to get these ratings up at the Breakfast Club. They're looking at him as an executive, as someone who is a cultural influencer and also has the cultural currency to be able to galvanize all black podcasts. This is why they gave him a podcast network. They're thinking that they're looking at him like he's Jay-Z, which, by the way, respectfully, I think he is. He would be Jay-Z of podcasting in terms of, or not podcasting, but let's just say broadcasting, where he's fucking the GOAT, right? He's the GOAT. And he could sign all these people who would want to be like him. And he has a great roster with, some great roster, because he do got some bums on there too. But he got, I didn't even know he had like 60 podcasts on their Black Effect Network, right? He has a bunch of podcasts, and I think they probably look at him to say, with Charlamagne in our corner, just like how NFL or even Live Nation looks at Jay-Z, if Jay-Z's in our corner, we got the niggas. We check that box, the culture box, the hip-hop box. We got that. And I think they're paying him where they think his worth is at, right? So, impressive deal. I'm very, by the way, he's such a astute businessman when it comes to this. And, we're not going to get into reductive conversations of, because I know some people love to compare, right? There's many different ways. Charlamagne's always been, if you ask me, he's a company man. He's always been a company man. He's rocked out for iHeart. He's done right by them. They're clearly done right by him. They've stood by him during not so good times. He stood by them always. And I think this is what comes with loyalty but high performance. They're paying them off, right? And for people who are independent, I don't think anyone who's independent should look at this, right? Like, again, you still have the podcasters like, obviously Joe Budden announced that, or I guess he inadvertently announced he's making $20 million just on Patreon or whatever the case is, right? And that's cool as well. So we shouldn't be comparing here. There's many different ways. I think you should always know and just realize when you think about the top broadcasters in hip hop, I think Charlamagne just put the plateau like to another level by saying, I used to say we're all 8-figure niggas. That was my thing. And I remember even saying it to Adam and Vlad and said, yo, the goal, if you can't really be one of the top podcasters, like, independent guys, if you're not pulling in that 10 million a year, like respectfully at this point, I think Charlamagne is up the ceiling. If you're not pulling in 9 figures over multiple years, you're probably not up there yet. So I think he's setting the mark, and he's also establishing the market. That's another thing. That's why I hope nobody hates on him for this. He's establishing the price. When a nigga like Charlamagne establishes the price, this is how it goes. Okay? I could give you the quick story. When after Joe Budden and his situation at Spotify didn't happen, they wanted Charlamagne. Charlamagne, I think I don't want to get into the business stuff. They offered him a lucrative amount to leave the Breakfast Club. He didn't. He stayed there. And they were going down their list. Who's the next hottest guy? They said, let's go. We went. The reason why I said people shouldn't hate on these things and everybody should stand up and celebrate him and tip their hat is because when Charlamagne signs, all these other companies, they're seeing the meta, and usually works for a few years. And then, obviously, even Netflix will fall back a bit too because they're just trying to break into a market. But here's the thing. when Charlamagne signs, companies start to scramble to get the next best thing. And then they go down the list, right? If you can't get the Charlamagne, you try to go get. And if you can't get, you try to go get. And if you can't get, you try to get. So I think everybody should be celebrating it. I'm extremely happy for him. And well-deserved. You know, I think about, you know, even seeing this. I think about when I seen Wendy Williams. And I always told you Wendy Williams is a GOAT. Like, I don't care what nobody say. I think we all gossiping. Facts. Like, when you're on this microphone, you're talking about people's businesses, you're doing all this messy shit. I don't care if you're a man, woman, whatever, gangster or nerd. We're all kind of gossiping. Wendy is the queen. And that's why no slander for Wendy will ever leave my lips. Now, Wendy, who really, you know, and it was funny when Dame Dash said, yo, Wendy's your OG. And, like, it kind of is true, but it's like, it's funny because it's Wendy Williams. But Wendy's a fucking boss. Wendy's a fucking Hall of Famer. She's Mount Rushmore. You get what I'm saying? And by the way, I wonder what Dame thinks about this. Ooh, remember Dame was like, yo, let me see your view. Come on, Dame. Dame, Charlamagne been making more money than every rapper he's been interviewing for 10 years now. Like, I also say Charlamagne is the humblest nigga in this media space by far. And I'm talking about from independent to new to everything. He lets everybody have their moment when they want to gloat. Oh, you want to gloat that you just got a new deal? Charlamagne sometimes be having the bigger deal. He don't give a fuck to let people know. He's still like broke. So he's really humble. And I do think that's dope as well. So, but back to the Wendy thing. I remember, and again, I'm not shitting on no one. I'm a student of this game. I remember when the whole thing happened with Star and Buck Wild. And really Star, and like he had gotten fired. I think it was because of the Envy stuff, right? And he was beefing with Envy. He made some comments. He got arrested, but he got let go. I remember people were like up in arms because supposedly he had signed like a contract. And his contract was for like $7 million. And I've been studying this game for a long time. And I remember that was a dope benchmark, $7 million. I was thinking, obviously we're not in Howard Stern land. And I think Howard Stern was getting $100 million at that time because he left it serious. But I'm like, okay, so the top guy who pops his shit on these microphones here, $7 million is the thing. I'm like, all right, bet. And then I remember when Wendy Williams, she is on WBLS and she ends up leaving and she goes to do daytime TV. I remember hearing this figure that she was getting $20 million like a year. And I was like, wow, like that number was such astonishing. But now she was on TV and she was doing radio bits. So I remember thinking, I'm like, wow, that's the benchmark, $20 million a year. Wendy. But Wendy's the GOAT. No one was ever close, right? And you see, and this is why, remember I made the same analogy. I know I'm yapping a bit, but for the people who care about this, remember, one of my first interviews with Charlamagne, I started because I was a nerd to shit like this. I was very keen on not only rappers and music and the music business, but the business of broadcasting too. Like, I started trying to interview the disc jockeys and the radio personalities, and I was trying to interview the program directors as well. But I remember Star 7, and I remember when Wendy was getting like 20 a year or something. I just remember 20 million. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then, I was trying to make the point of why I said Lil Baby had probably made more money than Outkast from music. Yeah, there's inflation and time changes, and it's just like how Steph Curry makes way more money or made way more money, like probably in like 5 years ago than Jordan ever did in 2 seasons, right? It just is what it is. There's inflation. There's a lot of these businesses get more and more lucrative, so there's more and more money. So now we get to the point of, I think it was important, whether Joe really did it by mistake or not, when he put out that $20 million benchmark as well. Yo, I'm making $20 million a year. That was dope. You get what I'm saying? It was kind of like, it was important not only for the industry, it was important for independent media. Because the thing is, I remember Joe, years ago, Joe was speaking about, and he seemed salty at the time because a lot of times we're all hitting our head on the ceiling. Like, you get to a point, you're like, I think I'm as big as I could possibly get in hip hop. Everybody knows me, right? And then you don't realize there's another level, always. There's always another level. I remember Joe was talking about the deal, and he was ranting. He was beefing with Charlamagne this time, but he was ranting about Spotify paying Call Her Daddy, Alexandra Cooper. she got $60 million for 3 years. That broke down to $20 million a year. And when he was talking about his deal, and I believe, I think it was like $2 million or something like that, right? For the year that he had gotten. Or maybe 1.2. Well, I forgot the money, but it was like $1 or $2 million when he had first signed. And when he was talking about the aspirations of, I want to get paid like Joe Rogan. Like, we all kind of said, nigga, chill out. You're not that big. Pause. And it was really everybody kind of like limiting themselves to the dollar amounts we're hearing, because we're looking at that to say, nah, bro, just be happy that you're getting millions. Just chill. And lo and behold, the reason why he walked away from Spotify is the reason where it's that same reason that defied what everybody was thinking. Bro, $20 million is for the white girl who's serving the white audience that's way bigger than hip-hop. Nigga, you're doing hip-hop with your buddies on the couch. It's not going to happen. So when you see Joe puts up that number, you see $20 million, you get to realize maybe that nigga wasn't that crazy after all. When he asked for that $20 million before, maybe Spotify didn't think he was worth it at the time, but what did he do? He went and built it himself and got it. So if you think about it, if he made $20 million in a year, 20 times 3 is the same exact deal Alexandra Cooper signed, except he owns everything. He could do what he wants. He makes his own schedule. He's the boss, right? There is no Spotify he has to listen to. Yeah, he might have a couple of sponsors, but that's it. So that gave a new perspective on, maybe you don't need to run up under a company with their big logo to put on your back for you to see the money that you think could be possible on these mics. You just got to give great content, hold your fans down. Hopefully they're loyal to you. Hopefully you're loyal to them. And if you guys build together, you put enough work and you're dedicated. And look, I'm not going to lie. Joe, he was joking, but Joe's like, Act, man, you know me. I talked to him recently. He's like, I got a sweatshop going. He's constantly recording. He's pumping out multiple episodes a day, 12-hour days, 15-hour days. He's really working, right? So he deserves every penny he has. And that was important benchmark for everybody as an independent creator. But then this is also, right, what Charlamagne is doing. Charlamagne, I think Joe is great at popping his shit. Charlamagne, not so much. Because what Charlamagne has done is before we all kind of got into the space, he was the top guy that was delivering epic classic interview after interview, moment after moment, donkey after day after donkey after day. And, confront these rappers or whatever the case is that we were all entertained by, but how long could you do that? And then he leveled up. Now, granted, some people might be like, also, he might have softened up as well, pause. But we start seeing him do business, from whether it's having publishing deals and, putting out books, and, we start seeing him doing speaking engagements. Now he's into politics, him trying to do a late night show. A lot of people clowned Charlamagne when he was trying to do late night show. Like, all his shows fail. He was on Guy Code. He had this show. Maybe he had the show with Taxstone and like the other guys. Like I forgot what that's called, but he tried a bunch of stuff. And a lot of people said, nah, you're just not the guy. Like, people were laughing at him. Like, those conversations. They were just like, yo, you're just a donkey today guy. So when you look up later and he figures it out, and his influence, his, his cultural, currency of him being the quintessential radio voice of this generation, especially for hip hop, when he turns that into, okay, now I am an executive, whether it's he just owns Black Effect by himself or he partners with iHeart, when he signs 60 other podcasts, when he, I could imagine, I don't know what their revenue is year over year, probably increased to, well, actually, I think they quoted in here. They actually quoted in there, I think, right? When he does that continuously, right? When he does that continuously, and by the way, here it is, Charlamagne signed a 5-year. So he started, wait, hold on. Okay. Look, since 2020, they've launched more than 60 shows. Wow. Look, becoming a vital part of iHeart's revenue stream. They reported podcast revenue of almost $500 million in 2024, which was up $252 million from 2021. So from when Charlamagne kind of established this, not saying Charlamagne is the one who brought all those millions, but they've only given out these podcast deals to a few people. I think maybe does Ryan Seacrest, is he with iHeartRadio or not? I think he does, right? Does he work for them? Yeah, he does. I think he has a podcast network with them, right? Too. Podcast network. Does he? Maybe not. Okay. I don't know if he has a network. Regardless, that was a power play that Charlamagne made. And it goes to show that Dame, I always thought Dame Dash is, he came with dope ideas. He probably wasn't the best example. Whether you're Joe Budden Academics, Gillian Wallow, Nori, Adam 22, DJ Vlad, or you're Charlamagne the God, whether you work for the big company or you're kind of trying to do it yourself, whether you're trying to do one-off partnerships, however way you do it, if you make good content and you're the top of your space, you will win, right? And I'm saying this to say congratulations, Charlamagne. I'm excited. I'm very happy for you. I was gonna hit you today on the phone, but I felt like your phone was probably first. I would imagine you found a lot of long lost cousins on days like today. Okay, I knew you didn't want to be reported, so I'll probably give you a call tomorrow. Me and you haven't chopped it up in a minute, but I'm very proud of you, and thank you not only for what you've, any wisdom and any advice you've imparted upon me, but thank you for what you've done for the space. Appreciate it. Okay, all right, let's keep it going. That was glazing, chat. That was glazing. Let's keep it going. By the way, any moments from here? I think I summed it up. I summed it up. The Caller Daddy host did the same thing. So looked like Charlamagne did succeed with the podcast network thing. A lot of people were trying to do the podcast network thing. Even Alexander Cooper did one called Unwell Network. She signed a 3-year, $125 million distribution deal. Wow, okay. Yeah, remember, she had her own deal, $60 million, 3 years. And, so this is all good. Good stuff. I would play... I should play some words of his. He did get on the Breakfast Club and spoke about this, and we're going to keep the ball rolling right ahead after this chat. Am I tripping? Here we go. Okay, could we get to it? Here we go. Now, I do want to say, and I want to say this to Tasha K. Tasha K, I got zero beef with you. I don't even know how we really even got into it. I think maybe I criticized your reporting. And I do know you're kind of like a renegade out there, first to got the exclusive tea. Won't call you media takeout, but sometimes you kind of really rely on your sources, and you say a bunch of stuff that I don't think you're trying to lie or whatever, but sometimes it might not be all the way accurate. And I think that's where I had criticized you, and then after I criticized you, you came back around, and we start going toe to toe. Then all of a sudden, I remember you interviewing a girl that supposedly flew out to hang out with me, and you were like, yo, Akademiks card declined. I was like, what the hell? Anyway, I've kind of, and I'm pretty sure she'll hear this, I've kind of buried all that hatchet with you in my mind, even though we haven't talked and we don't need to. I'll tell you why. Even though, and I've made my stance clear about your lawsuit versus Cardi B, I thought you were out of line with putting out information or even assuming or insinuating that Cardi B had an STD that was non-curable and that she was making it unsafe for a child. I thought I was way beyond the pale of any type of fair reporting or even our business, period. So I couldn't support you on that. That went how it went. However, I will say I was with you, and I mean, I think we all our independent content creators, we were supporting in one way or the other Milagro versus Meg Thee Stallion. Not necessarily because you think Milagro is an angel or you hate Meg, but Meg was trying to do something to Milagro that would have set a precedence for everybody who's an independent creator, which means if you criticize them and they don't like it, they take you to court and shut you up and shut you down, and also, try to run you out of business. I seen you supporting her a lot. I supported her a lot. And I think for that, I realized I'm like, you know what? Despite what I thought about you, I think at the end of the day, you're on the right side of what media is. You're new media as well. So am I. And that's why I'm like, I hate throwing stones versus the people who are in the same fight as me, right? Exactly. So Tasha K reported, and she's getting some flack for this. So I said all that to say I'm not bringing this up to take a shot at you. I'm just telling you what the people are saying right now. Tasha K did an exclusive, or she tweeted out exclusive. She said, allegedly Charlamagne the God is not up for renewal. His contract ends January 21st. A close source tells me they're not bringing him back, reportedly due to a shift in political space. What does this mean for the future of the Breakfast Club? Everything is allegedly, even my name, blah, blah, blah. So are y'all happy to see Charlamagne go, or do y'all want him to stay? Now, I'm not too sure who that source was for her. But again, if you kind of knew the climate of current radio or just in general, you should know that this could be nothing further than the truth. Like, this sounds ludicrous. I'll tell you why. It doesn't, like, if you just heard bro, it feels like these radio stations and their owners are adjacent to a lot of political ideology. Specifically, left-leaning political ideology. Charlamagne has now turned himself into a cultural critic, a music pundit, a media personality within hip-hop, but also he's a political pundit as well. He's interviewed vice presidents, potential presidential candidates, mayors. We've seen him do a lot of political stuff. And, you know, I gave him props the other day. I said, at first I was like, this is a bad pivot by Charlamagne, because I thought he was going to be in that silly kind of almost caricature that he used to, for the Breakfast Club, where he's just kind of clowning around, sniffing seats, all that. But no, he's, you know, I realize his knowledge is getting better. He's learning how to really kind of not only debate, but really ask these tough questions and still do it in a Charlamagne way. So I've been realizing that there's a space for him there. What that has done is what it's done for Stephen A. Smith, because that is the next evolution, right? It's to be the top guy in your field, the number one guy there. Like Stephen A. Smith is the number one sports analyst or sports, you know, this is not commentator, but debater. However, his voice is so powerful, it goes beyond the aisles and the bleachers of sports. It goes into the political aisles. And when someone could, you know, they were talking about Stephen A. Smith possibly running for president. That's how you should know that motherfucker is you know, powerful. So when I heard about Stephen A. Smith, when I heard about his new deal, which, by the way, is kind of ironic, he signed a 5-year, $100 million contract extension with ESPN. Charlamagne doubles it. Wow. But both men are kind of the same. One at the top of, you know, when it comes to culture and hip-hop, and, you know, and when I say culture, I'm talking about black people shit and hip-hop, but also is putting a foot into politics, same with Stephen A. Smith. So this idea that he would be let go because of his shift into the political space, no, I think they need him. You know, I think they absolutely need him. And I knew some of this Netflix stuff was going to happen, so I was like, ain't no way they'll let him go. Anyway, Charlamagne did address this briefly. I think this was not on air, but I think they do a live stream, so check this out.
Stop with all of this money talk, guys. This is y'all just no. Y'all this is no.
I need help with my student loan.
This is listen, I don't know. This is silly. Okay, all Forbes did was just highlight my career and, you know, some of my business ventures. Okay, all of that money, all them numbers, I don't know nothing about none of that. Okay, that's just stop, guys. Oh yeah, okay. Y'all worried about the wrong things, man. I didn't even. You can't. Y'all know AI be out here.
Shut up.
What? Y'all know AI real. You know what I'm saying? Listen, can I ask y'all something? No, this is what I really want to ask y'all, chat.
He's talking about Tasha now.
I was seeing stuff this week, and people were saying that their sources was telling them I was leaving iHeart. At what point, and then, you know, I'm watching people be sending me YouTube videos of people talking about, at what point do we stop listening to these niggas? I really want to ask y'all that, chat. I know nobody cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining, but do y'all really want to just keep subscribing and listening to people who lie to y'all for a living? Like, seriously, people lie to y'all for a living. Like, why do we allow these people to do that, man? Like, why? Like, at some point, like, you see these individuals and they always caught up in some dumb shit. They get sued. Like why? Stop
Definitely that's Tasha K, right?
listening to people who lie to y'all for a living, man. Please. And I'm gonna tell you something. I love YouTube and I love going on YouTube. There's a lot of YouTubers I'm entertained by, but most of these YouTubers don't know shit. Majority of them don't know what the fuck they talking about. That's why I like YouTubers that are like intellectually curious, the ones that will.
Okay. Congratulations to Charlamagne. Very dope. Very dope. I'm pretty sure the interest or the conversation will be about the money. But what we should probably realize, he's not getting paid 200. Well, I'm assuming. I don't think he's getting paid 200 million for primarily his work on the Breakfast Club. What this is telling me is that Black Effect is indeed doing what it needs to do for iHeart, and maybe it's on a licensing realm because obviously they got like a partner now with Netflix. Maybe it's just bringing in ads or serving ads. I don't know, but whatever it is, it looks like Black Effect Podcast Network is gonna be the thing. Like just how Bill Simmons had his network that kind of like took him out of here with his influence and everything. It looks like that's going to be the thing that kind of gets Charlamagne to that executive, level, but across all realms, even outside of iHeart. Okay, so congratulations to him. All right. Where do you want to go from here, chat? I feel like I just did like a really dope like breakdown. And I was like, all right, let's get back to the nigga shit. Oh, boy. Is there any other topics that require Smart Act? Smart Act is about to exit for Nigga Act now. Is there anything else? Is there anything else and by the way, the last thing I'll say about this, I don't know how that deal is going to turn out, but I'm pretty sure it's like for 2 or 3 years. And I'm pretty sure they have Netflix locked in for a bit. I don't believe, and this is not hate. I keep telling you, nothing I'm saying is hate because I've given enough credit. Y'all probably think I'm glazing already. I don't believe that, Netflix is signing these podcasts to be on the Netflix app, but they're going to leave YouTube. I don't believe that people are going to open up Netflix to listen or to watch a video episode of The Breakfast Club. Now, the audio is still going to be all over the place. I think they'll say, when I open up Netflix, I want to binge watch my show. Like, I'll open the furthest I've gotten is like a night like tonight. I'll open up Netflix to watch a one-of-one event, right? They've gotten us for the live thing, and maybe maybe that's we didn't know we would do that for there. So maybe Netflix they have data and research. They probably do, not probably definitely because they're making hundreds of millions of dollars in bets on this. But I don't think. Like maybe some of you guys watch that snoozecast called Rory and Millie Mall, but are y'all gonna say, "Oh man, it's Monday"? I don't know when they put out their post. It's Monday. Let's go to Netflix instead of YouTube to watch Rory and Millie Mall. Or damn, let me call up my homeboy and borrow his Netflix password to watch the podcast. I don't know, but it could be. It could prove me wrong. So I don't, I think YouTube is too difficult to beat. And while I'm here and I'm like still on this train of thought, YouTube is flexing their muscles now because number one, YouTube is not doing no deals for no podcasts. They're looking at it like, take them. By the way, keep in mind, here's the thing. Even when Spotify did that at first, remember YouTube still had Rogan for a bit, right? Like, Rogan didn't just abandon YouTube because why? YouTube 2.7 billion users compared to even Netflix 400 million, right? So YouTube is still a big dog saying, listen, we're not going to spend a fucking dime, but if you want to go take one or two popular podcasts, fuck it, go. We don't care. Now, here's the thing with this deal. And by the way, if you don't know, there's some more info on this deal that now includes Barstool Sports because they did a deal as well, Sports Netflix. So they signed on an 8-figure annual deal, and I forgot how many podcasts they will get from over there. The deal is going to be for Pardon My Take, Spittin' Chicklets, and this show, away from YouTube. So it looked like it's going to be 3 shows or maybe more. So here's the thing. They're doing these deals. They get 3 shows from here, 15 from iHeart. They're banking upon people opening up the Netflix app to watch these shows because now they're not available on YouTube. Here's my thing. And again, I hope y'all, I don't know why I keep talking to the lowest IQ person, but I do know people like to, when, anytime you're talking about someone else's success, they like to feel like you're hating it. And I'm never hating. I should know. Here's my critique of this deal currently. I'm looking for, respectfully, the Rogan. When Spotify did this, Spotify, I know Joe kind of pops his shit like, yeah, I was one of the first. Yeah, you were proof of concept, but you weren't the guy that made it like this is what's lucrative. That's Joe Rogan. So you always need that one person. Like, it's like if Kickstarter signing streamers, which they did, it signed a bunch of people. When they signed Aiden Ross, it was supposed to be like, bang. Well, people will leave to come watch Aiden. Remember, they were trying to sign Aiden, Speed, and Kai. People would have left those platforms to come see. So with this deal, I'm saying people do like the Breakfast Club. But will it make enough of a splash that they're boycotting, or not boycotting, but they're making obvious user decisions? We're not fucking with YouTube. We're going over to Netflix because you want to watch the Breakfast Club. I don't think so. So I'm looking for the big, like that one podcast. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know. You tell me what podcast these days would be the fucking industry mover. Obviously Rogan, but Rogan ain't leaving Spotify, right? And Spotify wouldn't rent him out to Netflix because they would think, even though Netflix is trying to compete with YouTube, Spotify might be like, nah, this is too much competition. It's too close to the market that we're trying to control, so we're good. So they're not renting out Rogan. Let's think about it. Let's think. If Candace Owens is super popular right now. Like, if Candace Owens was like, yo, listen, I'm going to be broadcasting on Netflix 3 times a week. Wow. I think Netflix would see a uptick in a couple hundred, if not maybe up to 1 million subscribers. 100%, I definitely believe that. Somebody say, Pat McAfee. Is Pat McAfee still that popular? I don't know. Somebody said Nick Fuentes. The thing with Nick Fuentes, I can't gauge his like, I know he's repurposed. He's like Charleston White, but the white version of it, and he's political. But I can't see his numbers because he's not allowed on any traditional app that we all compare numbers on. Like, it's easy to compare YouTube subscribers or YouTube views or average views on YouTube because everybody's on YouTube. If one guy's on like another app that no one else is on, like how do you compare it to other people's numbers, right? Somebody say Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I think Shannon Sharp could be like a caller daddy type of situation. I'm wondering why that didn't happen. Do you think they probably thought about Shannon Sharp and probably said, he just went through that thing with that white, that little snow bunny. I'm good. Maybe, but I will say this. From what I've seen, it doesn't look like Netflix did any deals with individual podcasts. It felt like they did strategic partnerships with networks. Barstool's network, iHeart, Black Effect network. Looks like they went to these networks and said, we're ordering 2 podcasts. All right, we need 3. Yo, we need 5. Yo, give us 15. So maybe that's why they haven't like showed up for like one particular show, even though sometimes a show, if it's that big, you might want to get it, right? You might want to get it. So who knows? Anything else? I think that's about it. Okay. Yeah. All right. All good.